the market crash taught me a lot about like our people, and I've been on a mission. That's why I'm so passionate about being part of NAHREP is advancing home ownership. There was a lot of predatory lending that took place back then, but yeah, she lost her home. She's like, no, 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 por favor. Oh my God, see, I get emotional talking about it. I feel like as Latinos, um, we're vulnerable. Sometimes, like, por no saber, por no estar bien informados y educados, they could get taken advantage of.
Hi, good morning, guys. So this is Eddie with Advantage America Insurance. Today we have a special guest, Imelda Manzo. Imelda, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, hello, everyone. My name, again, it's Imelda Manzo. I am a real estate broker here in the Temecula Valley area, and I am also an ambassador for the Hispanic Wealth Project and sit on the national board for NAHREP.
Thank you. So excited to have this conversation with you today.
I'm excited to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't like doing video or being on camera. I still don't, but I think I feel at least more comfortable with it now, but it was not easy.
And I've been dripping. Should we start recording?
Oh, oh, okay.
No, it's okay. Just start recording. We'll get like.
He's like, I've been recording. You guys don't even know that.
Yeah. So I've been dripping on him for a while now to like get more involved with NAREP because I'm like, we don't have this like in our network, and think of the benefit that it would be for our network. Um, because we had Eric Alfaro who spoke at the last event.
Uh-huh.
Um, so this is somebody who gets paid thousands to
Uh-huh.
speak at events, and she has an incredible like story,
Uh-huh.
but it's our story too.
Yes.
And that's why we connect with her because it's our story.
Right.
Um, we are also the children of like immigrant parents
Right.
who worked fields and odd jobs to provide and became success. She just told her story at the right time and got a lot of attention, which doesn't mean it wasn't a great accomplishment,
Right.
but we all have that story. We just need
Right.
to
Yeah, and
tell
I
that.
and I know that's one of the things that we discuss at NAREP a lot, that we need to be telling our stories. And I think sometimes there's like a hesitation or we don't feel comfortable for whatever reason, o te da vergüenza or whatever it is, right? But that's what we have, when they came out with 53 million and one, um, people that saw it, like the feedback that we got, it was like, oh my God, I saw myself in that story. Like that was the story of my abuelitos, or that's what my dad did when he came here. So it just touched everyone because it resonated, because that is our story. We all have those similar stories. So, but we just need to tell more of the stories.
So why do you think that is that a lot of us don't like telling our story?
Like I said, I think sometimes people may be embarrassed, or maybe they think that they're the only ones that went through that experience. But I think when we hear somebody that looks like us and they share their stories, the struggles that they went through to come to this country. Like I know I came here as a immigrant too, from Guadalajara when I was 8 years old, and you're like, oh my God, I used to think it was just me that came and crossed illegally. I'm like, no, there was like a lot of us that looked like me that did it, And I'm like, hey, I came here when I was just 8 years old. I still remember my grandpa put us on the bus. Orale, it's your turn. And it's like, oh my God, I don't want to tell people that I did that I crossed illegally. But it's like, hey, that's what our parents did, right? It was like whatever it took to come and give their children, better opportunities.
I've been trying to get my dad to come and do a podcast with me because uh, so he also crossed illegally back in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think that story has been told much.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear it, like somebody that crossed the Rio or jumped
Yeah.
over the wall or something, when you hear it, you're like, wow. Like, just the stuff that so my dad's from Nicaragua. So he came a
Oh,
little,
Why did I think you were
My
Mexican?
mom's from Mexico.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Nicaragua and Mexico.
So he came a little further.
Okay.
He came a little
Just a
further.
little further.
Yeah. But yeah, just getting to the border and then having to pay somebody to cross him, and the abuse, just getting across. Um, it's usually, you know, narcos or whatever, that those people
Yes.
control, and they're the ones that are getting you across. So the abuse, how they take advantage of you, how they take advantage of women, like as they're
Hmm.
crossing. My dad's telling me this story, and like at gunpoint, it's like you want to help, but at gunpoint, it's like
Right.
it's like stay down.
Yes.
And yeah, when you hear it, it's like it's hard.
Yeah, no, there is. Like, I remember a friend of ours that crossed shortly after us. It was it was the dad and the mom, and she was pregnant, and she was already 8 months pregnant. So at 8 months, you're pretty big, and she crossed por el cerro,
Wow.
running, and I'm with her little kids, and I'm like, oh my God, how does somebody have the guts to do something like that? She literally almost gave birth doing that cross, and it's like to take those risks. I know when my dad crossed, because I had asked him, how did you cross? He crossed in the trunk of a vehicle. And it wasn't just him though. It was him and like I think it was like three other men, and he was the first one that got shoved. So I'm like, oh my God, that is a risk. What could have happened if it was 110 degrees, like the weather that we've been experiencing lately? And he did say that by the time they crossed over, he literally almost got suffocated and ended up in the emergency room. And it's like, but that's just the risk and the hunger that they have, because you know our countries don't give us those opportunities, unfortunately. And my dad was very gutsy, and he was determined to do whatever it was going to take to bring everybody across. But
Yeah.
nos venimos en partes,
Mm.
primero él, then my mom, then we got divided. So we all came on our own.
Yeah. And so regarding the opportunity, so I've heard it's referred to as the American dream,
Right.
right? But what is the American dream? The American dream is to own a home. Um, the American dream is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I think it's more open to interpretation. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, and yes, the sueño americano, right? And I think for a lot of us, becoming homeowners, I know where we were back in Guadalajara, and I was too young to understand homeownership, renters, but we were renters. And coming here, I think everybody wants, homeownership, better education for our children. My parents, for example, didn't have much of an educational background. So they wanted their kids to have, better education, to become homeowners, and possibly become business owners in the future, to eventually become to be stable and have financial freedom and not be worried about, being in debt.
Yeah.
Like I remember, for example, when we came over here, a lot of the conversations that I would hear my parents have is, ay, le tenemos que pagar a fulano y a sutano, because I was like, oh my God, it sounds like they owe everybody money. It sounds like they're in debt. And that's exactly what it was,
Yeah.
because I guess I didn't realize as a child how much these coyotes charge you to bring you across. And there was 6 children, mom and dad. So they were in debt, paying, el compadre or el hermano, el cuñado. So I think part of the American dream is to be able to have enough, to make enough so that you're not living paycheck to paycheck and having financial freedom.
So I think that's important. Like, we're not given it; we're given the opportunity
Right,
to pursue those things where
right.
we maybe don't have the opportunity somewhere else. And we were having this conversation yesterday. Um, uh, I remember growing up, my dad would start work at 4 or 5 in the morning, and he wouldn't get home till the sun came down.
Right.
And that's sort of my life too. It's not as the sun comes up, but my first meeting is
You
like
get up
a
at 7.
yeah, no, but 7:30 is usually
Mhm.
my first meeting. like David is here at 5, 6 in the morning,
Uh-huh.
because he wants to be home at 3 for his kids. So he's still working a 10 hour like plus day. It's not full time. It's full time plus. um, and a lot of us, like our parents, that's how they worked.
Right.
It was full time plus, maybe another part time, or maybe it was two full times.
Right.
Um, and just for the opportunity, and I think that's sort of getting lost. What do you?
Right. No, it's true. And I remember, like, with my parents, my dad was an early riser too, like your dad, and he would get up and he'd be at work, and we wouldn't see him till, like, 6, 7 o'clock. And then my mom would work the late shift. So she would leave the house like around 3, 4 o'clock and come back 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was like we always had a parent at home, but it was like they were always busy working. And
Yeah.
I go back now and I think, like, how did we even do our homework and stuff? Because they were never there to help us. Well, number one, they were too busy working to try to provide for us, but no hablaban inglés tampoco. And
Yeah.
then we didn't speak English. So I don't even know how I got through school. Like the first couple of years, I know they were very hard. Just going through that culture shock of like being in another country, different culture, different language, different food. To me, that was like really hard to adjust. But going back to what you said, that we feel like we're losing that, I agree 100%. I think the new generations are the ones that were born here, que es parte de nuestra familia, because they didn't live those struggles, they didn't experience what we went through. Um,
Yeah, so I'll share a story with you real quick. I had a customer that came to my office maybe 2 weeks ago. Customers don't usually come to my office no more. Like after pandemic, it's all on over the phone or internet. So very rarely do customers come to my office. Even when we try to get them to come, they're like, "Oh, can't we just do it on the internet now?" They don't want to
yeah,
come.
Zoom.
So the customer walks in, Hispanic, chaparito, morenito, um, and he's looking around and he doesn't recognize everybody. And then he recognizes me. He's like, Eddie, is that you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, do you remember me? You came to my business like 7, 8 years ago, and you sold me insurance. And I don't, I don't remember him.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, thank you. How can I help you? So he's like, I bought a house and I need help with the insurance. So at first I'm happy, but then I have all these questions. Well, wait a minute. Like, didn't you get insurance when you closed escrow?
Hmm.
Um, if it's not new, then don't you have it with your impound account? Why don't you have insurance?
Uh-huh.
All these questions are going through my mind. So I'm sitting down and we're having a conversation and talking about his business, about his family, how's everything. And then he's like, "Oh, so this customer does window tinting
Hmm.
for cars. So he doesn't have a high ticket item. It's a couple $100.
Right.
So he needs a lot of volume." So he's like, "Oh, Eddie, con mucho esfuerzo ahorramos y compramos un terreno. So with a lot of hard work, we saved and we bought some land. Um, and then with some more hard work, we saved money and we bought a mobile home. And then we were able to pay to have it installed and the permits and everything. And now we're ready to move in." Oh, that's awesome! Congratulations. But it's not insured. I paid it all cash. Like, why didn't you get a loan?"
Uh-huh.
Well, Eddie, I don't have papers. Yeah, he's illegal.
Hmm.
Like, and then I was like, my jaw just like
Hmm.
dropped. Like, this guy, like, it's not a high ticket item. So $100, $150 to tint your windows.
Right.
Um, the hard work that was involved to buy a property, land, cash,
Hmm.
and then the work that was involved and the sacrifice to save the money to buy the house, cash, and then saving the money for the construction and the permits,
Right.
the slab, like cash.
Everything.
Like, congratulations, your family has somewhere to live for the rest of their life. Like, your kids can be calm, like when they're studying for college. It's like, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so pretty cool.
Yeah, but it shows, that as Latinos, we're very resilient. We are very hard workers. we have it in our DNA that we come and we work y no nos damos por vencidos, and we will work and do whatever it takes to become homeowners. But I think one of the things that as Latinos that I feel like we still need work. We need to continue to educate our Latinos on the importance of diversification. And okay, we know how to work for money, but now let's learn how to make that money work for us, para que no estemos trabajando de sol a sol, viviendo de cheque a cheque, because I think that's an area that we need to touch on. And
So let's talk about that. Um, so you are an ambassador
mhm,
for Hispanic Wealth Project.
yes,
Can you tell me a little bit about Hispanic Wealth
of
Project?
course. Yeah, so the Hispanic Wealth Project is something that it's through NAHREP, the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. So you remember the market crash of back of 2008.
Yeah.
Study shows that Latinos lost up to two-thirds of their wealth as a result of that recession. Gary Acosta, the co-founder for NAREP, went on a mission to, study. He loves to study all the trends, anything that has to do with Latinos. And when he saw the findings on how much wealth Latinos lost as a result of the recession, he came out with the blueprint, and we call it the Hispanic Wealth Project. That was launched back in 2014. And his goal was that over the next 10 years, so from 2014 to 2024, which this happens to be the year, the goal was to help triple the median wealth of Hispanic households. And he's focusing on three buckets on making sure that we continue to advance homeownership. Our goal was to hopefully reach a 50% homeownership rate for Latinos, which we're like right there, where I think we're like at
49.
49.5 or 49.7. So hopefully, by the end of the year, we will meet or exceed that goal. Another of the buckets that we're focusing on is to scale the businesses. Latinos, are very entrepreneurial. We love to have businesses, but we want to help them scale those businesses. Que empiecen chiquitos, pero que sigan creciendo sus negocios. And of course, the third bucket is diversification. I think as Latinos, there's a lot of us that still put money under the mattress at home. You're not going to earn any interest. It's not going to compound by having money under your mattress. We still have a lot of families, and I'm sure that you could attest to that, that they feel like their money's safer at home, where they could see it and it's there. They're not very familiar with, hey, you need to diversify. Have you considered putting it even in a CD, a certificate of deposit at your bank or credit union, putting it in the stock market, putting money away for a college fund for your kids if you have kids, they're going to be going off to college, and just learning how to diversify. Retirement accounts, that's an area where when I read the last report that shows that Latinos, the participation rate for Latinos when it comes to any type of retirement accounts like 401ks or even simple IRA accounts, our participation is still very low. So we need to continue to educate our Latinos that, we need to diversify. We need to pay ourselves first every month and start putting money away for emergency funds. There's always emergencies, and Latinos are still, we're doing better. Don't get me wrong. When I see the report, and we do have a report that comes out every year. This year at NARP at Latitude, September 12th through the 15th in San Diego, they will be releasing the latest copy of the State of Hispanic Wealth Report, and you'll be able to see where we stand financially. But I think that's still an area that we need improvement on.
Yeah, I think even because my industry is insurance, taking it like to life insurance, that is something that when you talk to a Hispanic or Latino, like it's taboo. They don't they don't want to talk about it, and it is a big part of generational wealth.
Right.
It's a
Right.
huge part of generational wealth. Um, I'll share with you another story. One of my customers called me to cancel their homeowner insurance, and why? Where, are you going somewhere else? Why?
Uh-huh.
He's like, no, 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 vendí mi casa. I sold my house. Oh, okay. Are you buying another house? No, no, that's it. I'm retiring and I'm going back to Mexico. So congratulations.
Hmm.
What about your daughter? He's got a 20-year-old daughter. He's like, well, I'm gonna leave her some money, and yeah, that I did my part. You know.
Uh-huh.
So then I just again I got curious and I just started asking more questions. Well, how much if you don't how much money are you gonna give her? Como 50,000, $50,000 I'm gonna give her.
To a
So I
20-year-old, you said?
yeah, 24-year-old. 24-year-old. So I told him, hey, before you do that, um, can you let me come up with a plan for you? Um, another way to use those $50,000. Um, will you consider it? Oh yeah, I'll look at it. Okay. So the plan was to take those $50,000 and put them into a life insurance policy. Your daughter doesn't need $50,000 right now, but she might if you're gone, and she may down the line. But today she doesn't need $50,000. She
Right.
probably doesn't have the education to do something smart with that money. She'll waste it at the mall or
Burn it right away.
yeah. So maybe right now is not the right time to give her $50,000. Put it in a life insurance policy. Um, look, maybe something happens to you in the next 20 years. Um, your daughter, I think it was $250,000 your daughter would get. So 50 turned into $250,000. And then, maybe your daughter will be a little bit more savvy with this money. Okay. And then let me take it a step further. You make your daughter take some of that money and recycle. We're going to repeat the process with your daughter and then your grandkids. So by the time your daughter reaches your age, 60, in her 60s, um, there would have been over $10 million in your fund. So you took $50,000 and created a legacy for your family. It's $10 million
Mhm.
that you're going to pass down to your grandkids, and he didn't see it.
Yeah, and I think like we really need to explain and show them, because one thing you need to understand, Eddie, is that our parents or generations past, they didn't have much of a education to start with, right? And talking about finances was for sure a subject that we normally don't talk about. I don't remember growing up and having conversations at our dinner table talking about, saving money for retirement, or para cuando me muera les voy a dejar esto. One of the findings in that report too, when I first read the first Hispanic Wealth Report, one of the things that struck with me that like opened my eyes was that Latinos, a very small percentage, I think it was 5 or 6% of Latinos will ever receive an inheritance. And I was like, God, that's so sad. So that means que cuando se mueran mis papás, me puse a hacer la matemática. I'm not going to get nothing. Did their parents get something? And I was like, no, we need to change that. But you mentioned life insurance. And I know as Latinos, like majority of my clients, because I'm kind of like you, I'm that I like to interview them and
Yeah.
ask them questions to find out where they're at, to see how I could better serve them and help them make better finance decisions, right? And life insurance is the one thing que, yes, like you said, it's taboo because they feel, or some of them have the mentality que, ay, si compro una póliza, no, pues ya me voy a morir. Like, I'm going to curse myself and I'm going to get in an accident and die. Or I'm too young for that. I'm not going to die anytime soon. But we saw during the pandemic what happened, right? Latinos of all demographics was uh, a demographic that got hit the hardest. Everybody knows somebody in our family, friends that passed away as a result of COVID. Did they have life insurance?
Yeah.
No, the majority of them, right? The vast majority of them. And if they were homeowners, I ran into, was that asset protected? Did they have a living trust? Did they have a will? No. So I helped a lot of people through the probate process. And I'm like, God, if only somebody would have told them the importance of protecting their asset, because now that's less money to their
Yeah.
heirs. So I'm glad you're having those conversations, because I think we need to, especially us that were in this industry, we really need to educate them and tell them on the importance of everything, right? Which it's a lot to throw in like one meeting. When I go meet with my clients, like a buyer consultation could turn into like 2, 3 hours, because we talk about so many things that nobody's teaching them. I'll share a little story with you. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Beaumont. I got a referral, and I sat with this couple, and we started talking about, because they're interested in buying an investment property, and we next thing you know, I'm talking about the Hispanic Growth Project, and I'm talking to them
Yeah.
about the NAHREP 10 principles. And I was talking to them about everything. Do you have a living trust in your house? Do you have life insurance? Do you have this? And they're like, no, no, no. And their eyes are going like, oh my God, nadie me dijo esto. And then he turns around and he looks at the wife and he's like, vieja, I feel like I'm back in school. I go, why didn't they teach us this in school? Nos está dando una buena clase. And I was like, and it makes me feel good when I know that they appreciate the information and that I open their eyes. And if I could just make one change and help them change one habit on how they manage their money, I feel like it's a win-win.
Do do you think that's why when they developed the NARA top 10, or the 10 principles, um, the education, number one?
Oh, yes, yes. We talk about this stuff all the time because we're always like, ¿por qué los latinos no tienen casas? ¿Por qué los latinos no tienen, they don't invest in the stock market? ¿Por qué los latinos no tienen 401ks and all that stuff? And when I ask my clients, like I say, I'm like that, parezco reportera because I'm always like trying to take everything out of them. It's education, Eddie. Like it comes down to like just like not having the right information, or sometimes they've had a bad experience with somebody else, or que no les explicó bien, or they got taken advantage of because we still have, I feel like as Latinos, we're vulnerable. Sometimes, like, por no estar bien informados y educados, they could get taken advantage of. I saw that, for example, in the market crash of 2008. I was very fortunate enough to be doing a lot of REOs for banks. And when I was, at first, yeah, it felt nice to have a new listing every day. But when I started paying attention to the people that I was knocking on the door on and doing evictions on, I'm like, oh my God, these people look like me. And they lost their home, and I would look at their papers. There was this one particular lady that, when I went and knocked on her door to let her know, hey, I'm here representing the bank. I'm here just to let you know your house has been foreclosed on. Se agarró llorando. And like that story to this day touches me because she's like, no, 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 por favor. Oh my God, see, I get emotional talking about it. But she asked me to come in. She's like, here, lea los papeles. And she's like, there's a mistake here. That's not what my realtor told me. That's not what my lender told me. This can't be happening to us. And then I look at the children. I was like, oh my God, like I was just so touched. And I'm reading her paperwork. Sorry. Soy la Llorona. That's
It's
my
okay.
nickname. I'm reading her paperwork and I'm seeing all these ridiculous miscellaneous fees at the front, at the end of the loan, the rate, everything. Of course, she got into the bad loan. You and I know there was a lot of predatory lending that took place back then. But yeah, she lost her home. She lost her home, and just seeing who took advantage of that person, I'm like, oh my God, I hope these people end up behind bars because they're stopping people from building wealth. And now they have to go and find a home and become renters again and become renters. So I'm very passionate about homeownership, but the market crash taught me a lot about like our people. And I've been on a mission. That's why I'm so passionate about being part of NAHREP is advancing homeownership, helping our people become homeowners. And once they become homeowners, let's continue educating them on the importance of diversification, saving money so that they could leave a legacy to their children. And hopefully that generation protects that and continues to grow that and leaves it to the next generation, because we need to break those patrones that we've had, and we could be as rich and successful as any other demographic.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, oh my God, ya lloré, now my makeup's gonna
It's
fall, and it's
okay.
like, oh my God, how do I not
It's
cry?
okay. So I think another big part, of the NAREP 10 is when it talks about, debt and living within your means.
Yes.
I remember growing up, um, I we didn't have like fancy balloon arrangements and clowns and entertainment at my birthday party. My birthday
At least
party,
you had a birthday party. I don't even have one birthday party, Eddie. You're ahead of me.
my birthday parties were like Little Caesars, and my mom would make my cake. And I remember one time I got socks for my birthday as a gift. and uh, but yes, I think today the message is getting a little, twisted, and the whole where they say living with the Joneses, we're trying to,
Compete.
yeah,
Yeah. No, and I love these NARP 10. These are the 10 disciplines. I call them the 10, my 10 commandments, right? And you mentioned living below your means, because we have to be ready for the next recession, right? And I think if we don't prepare and plan accordingly, I mean, look at everything that's happening now. Everything went up. Gas went up. Los huevos, la leche, everything's so expensive. So it's important to learn how to live below your means and to minimize debt, because debt is your biggest enemy to wealth, right? For me, I remember when I graduated from high school, I had a friend that she seemed to have it all. Tenía siempre carro. Every time I saw her, she was wearing nice clothes. She always had a different purse. And I'm like, oh, she had credit cards. And I remember, I just felt like, I'm like, how is she so lucky? Like, I don't have any of that. And I wanted that credit card so bad. And my parents had a credit card. And one day, because I was the one that would help them with pay their bills, I saw that there was a thing on there that says, if you want to add an authorized signer, sign here. So what does Imelda do? Okay, I'll admit it. Lo firmé por mi mamá, and I say, yeah, authorized signer Imelda Manzo. Next thing you know, I got a credit card. And I did tell my mom, Mom, don't worry, if I use it, I will pay you. Because I always worked. I think since I came here, I've always had to work to pay for my stuff. And next thing you know, I get a solicitation for you're approved for this credit card. Oh, dang, I don't even have to have my mom on this one. This one's my own. So next thing you know, Eddie, I'm not exaggerating. I have a stack of credit cards. Okay. And I was young, I was in my 20s. And I started using them because it was so easy. And I wanted to be like my friend, yo también quiero comprarme mi bolsa y quiero comprarme ropa nueva and all that stuff. And next thing you know, I'm like $60,000 in debt for a young girl back then. That was a lot. So when I started getting the bills like I felt like every day,
Yeah.
no tenía con qué pagar todo. I didn't understand APR. I didn't know that paying 25%, 30% on a credit card was bad. And it was hard. So I think we need to educate, our children, our young kids, not to get themselves into debt, because you get yourself in trouble, and that could stop you from building any type of wealth. And then going back to what you said about the birthday party that you said you had, that at least you had one, because I didn't have a birthday party. I tell my friends, like, my parents, not even one time. I've never had a birthday party. But I think that having your mom make that cake, I think that's more special than them going to buy a fancy cake. And even if it was Little Caesars. Pero los niños de hoy en día, it's like, I feel like they're not happy with that. They want a pair of socks as a birthday
Yeah.
gift. Like, that's unacceptable. They want the latest iPhone. They want the Xbox. They want the this. They want to go all out. So again, I think it goes back because we came here and they're being born into the things that we didn't have. So they have a different mentality and expectation.
I think okay. This probably is not a popular opinion,
Uh-huh.
but I remember um, my dad working two jobs so that my mom didn't. And my mom was there like a hawk, like maybe not from afar watching, because
Uh-huh.
hawks they can see 2 miles down. So,
Moms, Latina moms could see like 4 miles down, okay? Just so you know, because I'm one of them.
but she was there like a hawk, just watching what we did, and maybe she didn't get involved, but she was watching
Está mirando de
what
lejitos,
we
pero
did and make sure that we didn't go too far down the wrong
path, yeah.
path. And I, um, the because those of my parents were not able to like, um, you know, I don't know, take advantage and go like further down that path and the of creating wealth, and other families were. So now the next generation, you have mom and dad working,
Hmm.
and that's sort of the path that we're going, and the family has suffered.
Yes.
And again, it's not a popular opinion, but it's what I think and what I see. So now it's your kids being influenced by outside instead of your household.
Yeah.
And it's not really the family's fault. It's family both have to work now,
To
and
survive,
the
right?
family suffers. And I think if we would have taken advantage of the wealth building at way back when, it would have been different for the next.
Generation. No, it's true. Like I said, um, and like with us, I'm glad. I'm super, super glad that my parents worked their schedules different. They both worked, But they always made it a point that there had to be somebody there, like a hawk, watching us. Because if somebody was strict in my family, it wasn't my dad, it was my mom. No nos dejaba salir because she didn't want us to go in the wrong path. She didn't want us to get into, drugs or que saliéramos mucho o nos hiciéramos huevones or whatever. Like they were always watching us. And yes, we used to hate it because no nos dejaba salir, like nowhere. To the movies, Mom, can we go to the mall? No. Can we go here? No. It's like the answer to everything we requested was pretty much no, no. And no hay discusión. Y no es negociable. That was my mom. Once she said no, or sometimes she didn't even have to say no. They just looked in the eye, and you knew that eye look, right? You know what I'm talking about. And you couldn't negotiate or ask against. The chancla's coming, so watch out. But I think that helped us because some of my cousins that, sad to say, didn't have that. They didn't have that. There was no supervision because their parents are working. And it wasn't that it was done intentionally. It was done because they had to work to put food on the table and be able to pay the rent and have a roof for their children. Pero muchos que yo conozco, ya sea amigos or cousins, they didn't have that. Unfortunately, they went the wrong path because I remember, like, I had some cousins that lived in, like, the Compton area in áreas de Los Angeles. I've never lived in LA, but I know that back then, like, había más como pandillas. And some of my cousins went the wrong path. And some of them are not here today because nos involucraron en las cosas equivocadas, ended up behind bars, ended up, 6 feet underground, or ended up being deported. I have some, like I have a tia that recently passed away, actually, and two of her kids are in Tijuana because they got deported. Were they there for the funeral? No. So there's still those stories that to me, like, it's really sad. So for that, I'm thankful that my parents were always there, con la chancla, regañándonos because they wanted to make sure that we went the right way. But nowadays, going to what you said, yes, I feel like families are suffering and kids are technology nowadays también.
Yeah.
Muchos, they're meeting people on the phone. They're playing Xbox. Sometimes, like, I worry. Like, we work from home for the most part, so I'm always there with my kids, but I'm always, like, checking to see what they're doing but
But I remember even growing up, I'm sure it was the same with you, the sleepovers. Like, can I sleep over my
I didn't have one
no.
of those. I didn't have one of those.
Like, oh, so and so's having a slumber party. Like, what's a slumber party? Like, no. Like, but even with like within our family, like, oh, can I stay over like my cousin's house? Like, no.
Well, yeah, well, where we lived, which we still have that house. I bought my parents that house in Garden Grove. Eran dos casas. Okay, it was
Yeah.
the same address, but there was two houses. So we lived in the front house. It was like a duplex.
Yeah.
And then my tia and my first cousins lived in the back house. So you literally just walked there. It wasn't like you had to drive to the tia's house. It was right there, right, in the same address. And my cousin would always ask me, hey, let's have a slumber party and Mom, dejas ir a dormir con mi prima Becky? No. Mom, but it's just right here. It's your sister's house. No, it was not. It was like not allowed. They were so protective, especially I think más de las mujeres que de los hombres. But yes, I never had a slumber party either. No me dejaban. They were just very, very, very protective.
Yeah. And yeah, at the first I know for me, like a lot of resentment, a lot. And at first I didn't understand. Like
Yeah.
when I played sports and my dad was the one that wasn't there, the only one, like all of their dads were there, but my dad wasn't there. Like there was resentment, a lot of it, a lot of it. But as I got older, I'm like,
You're gonna make me cry again.
I understand now. Like I understand why he did it, and I'm thankful that. So, like when we talked about earlier, waking up or not even waking up, getting to work at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
My first appointment today was at 7 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
Appointment, appointment. So I was up earlier preparing and doing other stuff. My first appointment was at 7, and sometimes I'm there in bed and I don't want to get up.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to get up, but then I think of my dad and
There's no option. Yeah, they were like up.
well,
But
I feel like oh how embarrassing like he did it but I can't,
yeah.
or like I'm letting him down.
Yeah, no, I get that too. My dad was like that too. Bien tempranito. He was always like he had the reputation at work. He was always like the first one at work and like the last one to leave because he was so picky. He had to make sure everything was like impeccable. But that's just how they were raised. Y mi papá desde chiquito, like he would share stories of how he would have to help his parents, to provide for the family desde chiquito, muy trabajador. And yes, I did inherit a lot of that, but I'm gonna have to be honest and say that no me comparo 100% como él, and él ya en paz
Yeah.
descanse. But yes, but I'm glad you play sports, and I remember
Played.
yeah, the only sport I was allowed to play, because my parents were like, no, no, cuesta mucho dinero. Every time I wanted it, Mom, I want to be a cheerleader. Que no hay dinero. Y que esto, y que no hay dinero. And I was like, I heard that so much. I was like, okay, I guess if I want something in life, it's going to be up to me to pay for whatever I wanted to do. So the cheapest sport back then for me was cross country. So I'm like, okay, I just need a pair of tennis shoes and a pair of shorts. So, pero they were never there. Every time there was a competition, they were busy at work. No era que no querían,
Yeah.
but yes, I share that resentment with you because I'm like, God, they're not here. Like, ¿dónde están?
Yeah.
But anyway, so.
I remember, so till this day, one of my favorite things to eat,
Tamales?
besides tamales,
Let's talk about discipline
it's
number 8.
so it's a sandwich with just turkey or ham and mustard. So pan, the meat, and mustard. Because growing up, we had the local park,
Uh-huh.
and in the summers they would give away lunches
Uh-huh.
because the kids weren't in school, and a lot of us depended on the school lunch to eat.
Uh-huh.
So the park would give out chocolate milk and sandwiches with little packets of mustard.
Uh-huh.
And they were bologna. They weren't fancy.
I was gonna say, are you sure it was ham? Because I remember
It was bologna.
bologna, and to this day, I hate bologna.
Yeah, but now my sandwiches have ham. I stepped up. But yeah, they were like plastic wrapped, little packets of mustard, the bread, meat, and I don't remember if there was cheese or not. And then chocolate milk.
Yellow cheese.
Yeah, yellow
Sí
cheese.
tenía queso. Sí tenía queso. I remember the sandwiches, okay?
But yeah, I would love them like in the summer. I didn't realize they were free sandwiches or why I had them. My mom would volunteer because I think there was fruit, an apple. Maybe. My mom would volunteer because we would get extras because she would volunteer.
Las que sobran para la casa, vámonos.
Yeah, yeah. But it's till this day that's one of my favorite things. That if you go to my office and open the refrigerator,
Me encuentro los sándwiches.
there's mustard, bread, and jamon.
Oh my God. You know what? It brings me back to a memory. I remember, like I said, I came here when I was 8 years old. So yo sí alcancé a ir a la escuela en Guadalajara, la escuela Magdalena Cueva. I still remember my school. And I remember when I came to school, I started 3rd grade. And I'm like, God, they serve breakfast here? Because we didn't have that in my school. Well, entraba a las 2 de la tarde, so I guess it was past breakfast time. Back in Guadalajara, my shift was from like 2 to 6:30. So when I came here, school was in the morning, so that was like a big change for me. But I remember the first thing they gave me for breakfast, it was oh my God, what's the name of that bread?
Bimbo.
English muffin.
Oh, okay. The Thomas.
El Thomas
Yeah.
con queso amarillo reditido with melted cheese and then your milk and mixed fruit. And I was like, I thought it was like the most delicious breakfast I've ever tasted. And I was like, God, back home en la escuela donde yo iba, we were lucky if we had to pay for it. But we were lucky if we bought a tostada it wasn't tapatio because I think tapatio didn't exist back then, but it was something similar to tapatio. And it was a tostada with chile y tu lechita. Era un cartoncito, like a little triangle. Yeah. That was like our lunch, and we had to pay for it. And I was like, God, acá estos gringos me dan fruta, me dan mi English muffin. But anyway, so I still have those memories of the free breakfast, and then we had lunch. I was like, oh my God, we're eating twice a day. But it's just, the difference of the things that sadly we don't have back in our countries.
Yeah. So, how did you find NAHREP, or did NAHREP find you? How did it work?
I found NAHREP. Okay, so this goes back to I know a lot of people, for the most part, they get introduced to the organization. Okay. But when I started working real estate back in, I got my license at the end of like 2004. Didn't really start selling until like the end of 2005, because like the first couple of years I was just trying to understand the industry. I was trying to get my feet wet, And it was a complete new career for me because I came from, working at Bank of America in the banking industry. And I was getting frustrated because I wasn't getting the help at the brokerage where I worked, or I felt like people didn't want to share with me. So I was like, God, there has to be an organization that helps people that look like me that are in real estate that could help me become better and tell me what's going on, what's the latest of the latest. So I had become part of like WCR, and I would go to like my local association, but I felt like me faltaba algo. Like I felt like I wasn't home. And I just started one day just Googling, is there a Mexican real estate association? Is there a Latino this? And I just started putting names. And the next thing you know, NAHREP comes up. And I'm like, oh, National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. So I started reading the mission statement. I started reading, how much the membership cost. Like back then it was like $99 to join. And I'm like, oh my God, this aligns with me. And I feel like this is my familia. So I signed up and I just started, going to the local events, which back then the local events were like Orange County or the Riverside chapter, the SoCal chapter. And I said, you know what, we need this here in Temecula. Like we need a chapter here. And I reached out to headquarters, which back then was Washington, D.C.,
Wow.
believe it or not. And I got all the information. What do I need to do? How do I start a chapter? Like this was new to me. And fast forward, I got all the board of directors lined up, everybody excited. We did our first meeting and we got approved to launch a chapter, but the market crashed. The market crashed. So, because it took me a while to get
So
all that
this is like
process.
15 years ago.
Yes. So then the market crashed and we were supposed to have our first like meeting, like to officially kick it off.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one that showed up. No había nadie because everybody left the business. So I was like, oh my God, I can't. I literally cried. I'm like, oh my God, just when I thought we are going to have a chapter here. But things happen for a reason. Next thing you know, I went to a chapter event in Orange County. They were talking about REOs. I didn't even know what REOs were. And they're like, oh, don't give up, sign up with banks, try to see if you could get an account because banks are going to need help. And I did that and I became an REO agent. So if I would have launched the chapter, maybe I wouldn't have gotten my feet wet into the REO arena. And like I said, I think things happen for a reason. But years later, as you know,
Yeah.
we launched it back in 2017. With Ivan Dominguez and other directors like Adriana Burris and Marianne Sharp. We got together again and we launched it. And now we have an amazing chapter that you're now a part of. And I'm
Thank you.
super happy and excited for you.
Yeah. So initially when I joined, um, my question was how do we help the Hispanic community here in Temecula? And I struggled to find the answer. And to be honest, I didn't find the answer, and I was lost, um, and frustrated
Hmm.
for a while. Um, and I think that um, um, even when joining, um, I had I done the research that like you did, and then see really what the mission is and what the purpose of the organization is. Um, so I don't know if I'm allowed to. It's not a nonprofit for the community, benefit of the community. It's for the benefit of its members.
Hmm.
So NAREP is to educate.
Yes. And
It's
that's part of our mission statement. So that's
yeah,
again going to when I read the research. I
yeah,
mean I read the mission and did my
yeah,
research because I wanted to find something that aligned with my core values.
yeah.
So when I saw, the mission is to advance sustainable home ownership, Latino home ownership, and how do we do that? By educating and empowering the real estate professional that serves Hispanic home buyers and Hispanic home sellers.
Yeah.
Part of the mission is to advocate for public policy that aligns with the trade association's mission, right? So when I read that, I'm like, okay, to advocate, I'm like, this is stuff that I already do. My clients know me because I advocate for them, because I truly, truly care in my heart and I treat all of them like, si fueran mis abuelitos, would you take advantage of your abuelitos? Would you take advantage of your parents? No, I'm like, I treat everybody the way they deserve to be treated. And education is one thing that I love to do with my clientele is educarlos, but I cannot educate them if I'm not educated myself. So
Right.
NAREP is all about making leaders. It's a leadership platform is pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And I never thought in my wildest dream that, here I just wanted to be part of the organization and then launch a chapter. My goal, even when we launched the chapter, I'll confess, my goal was not yo quiero ser la presidenta. You would think that somebody that's launching the chapter that's what they're going to want to do, be the president. No, yo lo que quería era ser parte.
Yeah.
And how can we help each other? How can we all collaborate to take Latinos to the next level, to take Latino realtors to the next level, anybody in our real estate profession, and better serve our community? But I'm very thankful that as a result of doing that, and never did it with that intention, but I started as a secretary and I loved it because I was like the note
Yes.
taker. Yo llamaba, yo gritaba, whatever we needed to do to make things happen. And then next, I got voted in to be the president of the chapter. And I was no quería because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to speak in public. And that's not my thing. And they're going to ask me to do this. And, I'm not ready for that. But they make you do things out of your comfort zone so that you could grow, because that's how we grow. Si no te caes, you're not going to grow. So, right. And that's what I love the most about it, is that they make us better leaders. And if you become a better leader, you're going to better serve. And then you're going to mentor somebody else and lift another Latino up and pay it forward, right? So from being president, I became the emeritus director for the Temecula Valley chapter. And then they asked me to become an ambassador, certified trainer of the NAHREP 10 principles, which I loved. And then after that, I got elected to sit on the National Advocacy Committee and advocate. You know how much I love going to Washington every year and be able to go on Capitol Hill and talk to elected officials that represent us to talk about our Latino agenda and address all the challenges that we're facing. I would have never imagined that I would ever do that in my lifetime, especially knowing my background. But it's through NAHREP that, I was able to get there, and that you could get there too, and other people that joined the organization could get there too. And of course, my latest endeavor is being asked to sit on the national board of directors, which that has been a big thing for me, and I'm just super blessed and grateful to the organization.
Yeah. I think for me, the like initially there was a huge frustration. Um, like I vented to David, like, oh, this is so hard.
To who?
To David. David was
Oh.
helping film today. I vented to David, like, oh, this is so hard. Like, I don't know, it's not for me. Like,
¿Quieres llorar? ¿Quieres
yeah,
cuitear? Colgar los
like,
tenis?
yeah, I wanted to quit so many times. But similar to the childhood, right? If we didn't have that adversity, we wouldn't be where we are
Mhm.
today. So I don't know if it's intentional that they make us go through all that,
They
but
make you tough.
yeah, but it helps. It does help. And the three things that I've learned is, yeah, the leadership training, the access to information and education. Because when I came back from Washington, which we were in earlier in the year, I made it a point to go and visit all of our sponsors. I didn't care about, not that I didn't care, I was more interested in supporting our sponsors and learning what they had to say. And the volume of information that I brought back, and I'm not even a realtor,
Uh-huh.
but that I could help apply here to the realtors that serve this community. It's like, and when I tell them, hey, did you know so and so has this program? And did you know so and so has this program? No, I didn't know that. I had a buyer that could have helped.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's the wealth of information that comes from Washington D.C. and then from our upcoming event in San Diego,
Yeah.
Latitude.
Right.
Just all the education that we absorb, and we are
Right.
the opportunities that open
Yeah,
for
there
us.
is a lot of opportunities. Um, and I tell people that don't understand or are not part of NARB, I go, no, get in, immerse yourself in everything that the organization's about. Go in there, like, if you're going to sit on the board, but wear your NARP hat. Understand that we're there for the mission. It's not about you or having a title. Like, you don't need a title, first of all, to be a leader, right? Because en veces la gente, they get in there because, they want the title or whatever. Like, no, go in there because you want to serve your community. Remember what the mission is. I mean, where's your badge, Eddie? ¿Dónde está? Te va a regañar. See, when I was president, that was the one thing. When somebody was coming to my board meeting and they didn't have their badge, or I saw them walking around and you're not wearing your NAR badge, I'm like, this is like your badge of honor. And it goes on the left, closest to your heart. Los miraba if they wear on the wrong side. Chancla. Les daba, órale, you're wearing on the wrong side. But, I tell people, what are the three little dots for? What do they represent? It's a test.
No, I have no idea.
Ves? So you have to know
Yeah.
you have to know. So we have those the three little bolitas that are on top of the end is education, networking, and advocacy, right? This is the best place to get education. Gary Acosta does a phenomenal job at always being ahead of everybody, and it's like the pulse of of real estate. He knows what's happening. He's always bringing top of the line speakers to our events. You know, it's one thing to get involved at the local level, but I tell members, if you haven't gone to a national convention like the one we do in Washington every March, NAHREP at Latitude in September, then you haven't seen the real picture of what the organization's about. I mean, I've been to a lot of events for other organizations. Nothing compares to NAHREP. I mean, we have the best networking, and what I love the most is that like you truly feel like you're with your familia, truly where culture and business opportunity connect, right? This is where we intersect. And I've met a lot of great people just through networking or going to the national conventions. In realidad, it's you grow your family. You
Yeah.
grow your family. You pick up business ideas. Had it not been through NAHREP, I probably would not be here where I am today. Through NAHREP, you know, I started as a real estate agent, and NAHREP kind of pushed me into like, no, you should try to be a broker. Now I'm a broker. Through NAHREP, you know, I became a certified trainer. Thanks to this, I keep myself in check because if I'm going to be teaching and preaching these principles, I better lead by example. So I'm one of those that if you're going to teach, you know, lead by example, live by the principles, and you be able to show for it,
I
right?
see you running.
Right? No, we're going to talk about number 8 very soon here, but and everything that's in here, like I feel like I was already doing it, but nobody really like told me the importance of doing it or breaking it down as to why we need to do it.
Yeah.
But through NARP, again, I've been able to invest in other properties que antes yo no pensaba en eso. I was just like, oh, I buy a house and yay, I made it.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't think bigger, you know. But with NARP, it's like they really push you out of your comfort zone, think bigger, want more, and help other people, lift other people. Um, and that's why I love the organization. Now my husband, like we started a flipping business years ago, and he's been doing like phenomenal, you know, flipping not just in California. We ventured out of state and doing that. Todo es through NARP because we met people at these conventions and they share the information. It's not like they hide the secret sauce and like,
Yeah.
no, they will share and help you and push you. And it's like free mentorship, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you're part of the alumni program once you term out of being a board of director, and they host monthly classes just for alumni, where you could have like special masterminds with people that are doing way better than you that could help you get there too. So it's all about growing and lifting Latinos up and changing the damn narrative that they have about us Latinos. Like that's why I'm passionate about being part of the organization.
Yeah. So right now we're in the process of developing the board for next year. And a question that I get asked a lot is, well, time? How much time is this going to take away from my business? And I sort of tell them, this is not going to take time away from your business. This is going to be part of your business now. It's just something that you do. It's not something like, oh, I have to stop selling houses because I'm going to go do this. Um, and if that's the way you look at it, then maybe this isn't for you. Um, maybe you can support in another way and
Right.
not on a board of director. Um, but I, and that's where I think like we have to do a good job of. Um, this is a conversation. It's not something that you can just go online or uh,
Right.
like. This is a conversation because it really is a conversation of all the value add. Um, I'll tell you, switching to Hispanic wealth. So I just learned this a couple days ago as I was researching
Uh-huh.
for our talk today. So you can become a member of Hispanic Wealth, and you have a bunch of other benefits by joining Hispanic Wealth. I think it was $100 that it cost to join the Hispanic Wealth Project. Last year, I was on a journey to learn more about investing and alternative, and I stumbled upon this investment group. Um, I really liked it. Um, my annual membership was $17,000
Mm-hmm.
that I paid
Uh-huh.
to join because that's how much the information, like, I cared about it, and I thought it was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
$18,000. um, This the value add. Are you kidding me? It's $100 or whatever it costs now to join RF.
Yeah.
My membership is different because I'm an affiliate,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
whatever it costs, like the value add, and then 25 hours for an event or whatever it is, I just paid 18,000. Um, they're asking me to renew for a second year, another
$18.
yeah, another 18,000, or I can upgrade to a higher level for 50,000. This is an annual like membership,
Hmm.
and that's not investing yet. That's just to get you in the door.
To be part of the club.
Yeah, to get you, and then that's on top of whatever you want to
Yeah.
invest. So the value add
Yeah.
of being a part of the network and the I call it community, the network and the
Right.
community, right? Because you want access to the information, you want access to the people in your community. The value add is like
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, and I tell people when I hear somebody even to join a chapter, right? Because it's only now it's only $49. Like I said, when I joined, it used to be $99, which still was like nothing. Because the way I see it, and even like board of directors that join a chapter, I'm like, see it, you're investing in yourself. Because had I not joined a local chapter and been involved as a director, I wouldn't have grown. Like running a chapter is like running a business. So you grow so much and you're investing in yourself. We have the NARP top 250, for example. So like discipline number 2, be in the top 10 of your profession, because being good is not good enough nowadays, right? And again, I go back to NARP. NARP is the one that pushed me. Oh, hey, I could be part of the top 250, and I've been part of the top 250, but it's because of everything that I've learned through NARP. But I am one of those, I'm like a sponge, boy, and then I try to learn, I immerse myself. I don't go in there thinking, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? If you have people that are coming in with that mentality, then this is probably not the place to be in. You got to do it in there and serve with the heart. Go in there. Yes, it takes some time. When I was president, I will admit it. I feel like me levantaba en NAHREP. I would breathe and talk, and everywhere I went, walk NAHREP, 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 NAHREP. People would make fun of me because I could go to a gas station, pump gas, and talk to somebody, and hey, you want to join NAHREP? Want to join the Temecula Valley? Y boom, lo agarraba. But because I'm passionate about the organization, because I believe in the mission, I believe in everything that this organization is doing and is continuing doing. Now we're doing the launch of what is it called? The Avance, which is for sports,
Sports.
Latinos in sports. NARP at Latitude is not just a real estate convention, it's 2 conventions in one, that it's for a cheap price. It's 4 days of educational content. And then we have our entertainment, right? Because we're Latinos and we have to have fun.
Well, and then we have so immediately following Latitude, there's Las Vegas.
Yes, yes.
It's also three days of that
Mm-hmm.
in Las
Mm-hmm.
Vegas. So the Hispanic Homeownership Party. So continuing, it's investing outside of real estate.
Yeah. Yep. So, and le digo a la gente, like, if you want to grow, personally, professionally, you're Latino, you're not part of NAREP, you're just not making the right choice,
Yeah,
porque you need to invest in yourself in order to grow. Si vas a hacer lo mismo y hacer lo mismo y hacer lo mismo, then vas a agarrar lo mismo.
yeah,
If you want to see different results, you got to invest and learn from others that are willing to talk to you and share and connect with you and mastermind with you. And what better place than through doing it through an organization like NAREP,
yeah.
which is, by the way, the largest business Latino or business trade association in the country. We have what, 100 chapters and over 40,000 members right now.
Wow. Yeah. No. Yeah. For me now, it's a no brainer. um, the passion that I have, and even like with our partners, like um, I tell the board, just put me in front of a partner. Just put me in front of them. Like if you
Yeah.
give me the chance to just talk to them, they will become a partner.
Yeah, and see, and that's important, and I'm glad you mentioned something earlier that I'm really glad that you're taking the time to meet with our business partners and to get feedback.
Yeah,
What can we do different? What did you like? Constructive criticism, right? So that you could continue to grow and have successful events and continue to have those relationships with those partnerships. But también es educar a esos partnerships,
yeah,
because there's a lot of partners that some of them I'm still surprised. Like in our valley here, que they don't know who NAREP is or what NAREP is about. It's up to us to educate them and tell them what the organization is and who we are as Latinos, right? Because like, for example, studies of the Urban Institute predict that over the next 20 years, 70% of homeownership is going to be done by the Latino market, right? That's just based on demographics, but that's a huge number. Why is that? Why do we have such a huge number? Well, because as Latinos, we're also the youngest demographic. Our average age for Latino right now is 30 years. So Latinos are just entering into their prime home buying years. So this is important data that you want to share with your partners, because if they're not doing business with Latinos, they may be going out of business, aunque no lo quieran aceptar, because we are continuing to grow. We had 53 million one because we have 53 million Latinos. I think that number is more like 63 right now. So we're going to have to change that name, and I'm sure they're going to be changing that name, mark my words, que ya no va a ser 53 million one.
Yeah.
Vamos a ser 63 million and one, because Latinos keep growing. I mean, we're everywhere and we're here to stay. So we need partners to understand that data. So we have the State of Hispanic Homeownership report. If you haven't read that report, I highly recommend that you also share that data with your partner so that they could see how Latinos are faring as it
Yeah.
comes to homeownership.
I'm doing it weekly now. Every week I have at least a coffee or a lunch with somebody different, and we have this conversation. And I can tell you, for me, um, it, it sort of flopped the direction that you said. Um, Originally, it was how will this benefit me?
Mhm.
Originally, it was how will this benefit me? But then the mindset shifted is no, if we have a successful chapter, it will benefit me.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, like don't go in there with that mentality,
Yeah,
what's in it for me, because I could tell you from personal experience, esa nunca fue mi mentalidad.
yeah.
I was there because I really
Well,
wanted
I
to
saw your
learn.
eyes like,
Yeah, yeah, no, no. And people that know me, like, yeah, me conocen, and like, NAHREP, hey, NAHREP. Oh, they ask me, you're still the president of NAHREP Temecula. Like, no, no, like, I trimmed out long time ago. Ya me corrieron, ¿verdad? But I think the one thing is that people have seen that I'm truly,
yeah,
like, passionate, and I care for them genuinely.
yeah,
Eh, but the business or what came out of it, sin pensar en
yeah,
eso, like it continues to come back to me
yeah,
in triple. I get referrals. I got a referral not too long ago, even from the national president of NAHREP. She gave me a referral of one of her clients. She's, one of the most successful Latina, selling real estate in Las Vegas, nuestra presidenta nacional, Nora Aguirre. And she gave me a referral. So like it just happens because, you start building those connections. And we had a successful closing a few months ago, but I've gotten referrals from other chapters from other states, because they see your involvement and they see that you care. Y te mandan. Our partners have given me referrals. Our board of directors, like it just happens sin pedirlo,
yeah,
se te regresa,
yeah.
because you're doing things from the heart and you're doing things, to really help our community.
And I think it took like a month for it to click,
Mhm.
for me, um, because when I joined, I really didn't understand yet what I was getting into, and to be honest, I didn't, like you said, I didn't have a position. I was like an extra. I didn't have a position, but I wanted to be a part of it, um, and I did it like with protests, like because I have to pay $1,000 to volunteer. Like, really? Like, this is what it costs to volunteer, like my time. And so I did it under protest. And then my friend Ivan, he's like, "Do it, Eddie. Do it, Eddie. It's good for you. Do it." Yeah. So Ivan sort of like,
Push you. Te
yeah,
di el empujón.
yeah, pushed me to do it. And I'm like, okay, Ivan, okay, I'll want to do it.
Hey,
Yeah.
they would have called me. I would have been like, abre el cheque ahorita. Órale, firma el cheque. Que no esté quejándose.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did it under protest. And so what really like flipped the switch is, um, within the first month, I got like 4 or 5 insurance orders from the board, and I'm like, okay, like this is the network that I wanted to be a part of, you know.
Yeah.
These are the partners that I wanted, um, and they were probably in my seat at one point, and also like under protest, because some of them had to pay, and they, this is their way of like
Yeah.
bringing me in and telling me like, okay, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. No, no, it is. And like I said, if you just do it, immerse yourself in the organization as much as you can. Um, get to know your directors. Truly, do things and do things serving from the heart. You will see the return because it happens. Like I said, I was never there thinking, oh, I just want to make sure I get another. Don't be a transactional
Yeah.
director. Go in there, build relationships because it's all about building
Yeah.
relationships. I've I've had I've met so many people through NAHREP. From different chapters out of state. If I have a client that wants to move to Texas, I know who to refer him to because I've already met him. I know how they work, and it's building relationships and scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It happens organically. So just
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job. We're going to see you as president next year. Was that
I
the
don't
next
know. We'll
topic?
see. We're running out of time.
Oh, is that what you said? Oh, the hour's up. Oh, I see where you're going. Wait, I thought we were going to talk about discipline number 8.
That's funny. Um, but yeah, the transactional part. Um, Even like today, we're here. We're here in David Apalaca studio, Fresh Scoop Media. Thank you, David. By the way, um, when I first connected with him, um, he doesn't know this, but I just came because I wanted to get to know him and like be his friend.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And now
but
you're best buddies.
but I ended up, yeah, I just came to talk to you, and I ended up purchasing one like his bigger like packages, and we started doing a lot of work. But I wasn't here to buy, and he wasn't here to sell. We were just here to have a cup of coffee,
Uh-huh.
and it ended up
It just
turning in,
happened.
yeah, yeah, and he helped me a lot just to open.
Is he an art member of Temecula Valley?
He's thinking about it.
Oh, no, no, no. We're not going to finish this. Hey, after we're done, I'll get the application. We sign them up, okay?
Yeah.
You know how much
Yeah.
business is going to get from being part of the NARP Temecula Valley?
Yeah,
You know how
yeah,
many Latinos need to do more videos? And we
yeah,
have an expert right here.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, we all need to get our story out.
Yes.
But yeah, as we're closing out, anything else that you think that we want to talk about or
Well,
that we
we
didn't
have,
touch on?
I just want to remind you, so
Yeah,
you could remind everyone on the importance of going to our NARP at Latitude this year, September 12th through the 15th. It's going to be taking place in beautiful sunny San Diego. Last year you saw we were in, and then that one
Miami.
was last year, Miami. It
Yeah,
was nice over there too.
yeah,
But we're bringing it back to San Diego. It's an amazing conference. I think this year it's going to be probably, if not like the best conference ever, because we have Tony Robbins this year as one of our amazing speakers. He's going to be there on Sunday, so you don't want to miss out. I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. I've gone to some of his events that are not that cheap,
yeah,
but you get a good deal if you do it through NAREP. So make sure that you go, especially with everything that's going on in our industry with this whole the future of realtor compensation. I know there's going to be a lot of content, a lot of great sessions that are going to talk about, how are we going to adjust and pivot to these new changes that are coming up. What, August 17th?
yeah. And then um, locally, immediately following Latitude, we have our local event that you will also be speaking at. So September 26th at Bastards, it'll be creating generational wealth. So investing for tomorrow's future. So Imelda Manzo will be one of our speakers from Hispanic Wealth Project. Leo Robles has built over a 2,500 agent downline. So he has over 2,500 top producers under his, what do we call it, umbrella of
Under his belt.
agents. Yeah. Um, so yourself, Leo Robles, Veronica Guillen, close with Veronica. So she's a hard money lender.
Mhm.
So Veronica right now is, I'm super impressed. She's flipping a hotel. Like, who
Wow.
flips hotels? Like, she's flipping a hotel right now. Marco and Jenny will be here. Marco and Jenny, they've been featured on HGTV, Flip and Flop.
Mhm.
So they've investors.
Mhm.
I think they've done over 250 transactions, if I don't remember correctly. And then we also have a friend that I met in my investment network.
Uh-huh.
So he's one of the people that invested and paid actually the $100,000 level to be an annual membership level.
Uh-huh.
So this guy's doing investments with like billionaires, and he's going to talk about creating wealth other ways besides real estate. So September 26th.
Yes, and I can't wait to be there because
Yeah,
I'm sure we're all going to learn something, right?
yeah,
And we're going to implement it and continue to grow
yeah,
and lift each other
yeah,
up.
yeah. So I'm super excited for that. Yeah.
Yes, well, thank you.
So thank you so much, Imelda, for your
Well,
time.
thank you for having me.
All
This
right.
has been a great conversation.
Thank you.